What is my most hopeful vision for the future? Well, it's you, and you, and you, and you. It's really about you. That's what I want to look at today. How you can shape the future. I'll give you an example of my future, but I'm going to focus on you. Hey, since it's the beginning of the year, or close to the beginning of the year, I want you to commit to 2 things this year. They're very simple, they're easy, but they will very much help you on your journey to wanting a future that is more regenerative, better for the planet, certainly. So let's start. The first one, I want you to commit to reconnecting to nature. That's the first one. You say, well, yeah, I work outside. Okay, if you do, but still you can reconnect a little deeper. And those of you who say, well, I live, there's a window and I see a brick wall maybe, or you see some trees. Well, okay, that's from a distance. But now I want you to reconnect, to get closer to nature. And how? Just slow down and observe. If you're in the city, try to find a place that's near a park that you could go to, maybe along the water. Try to find a place that gets you a little bit more in touch. Maybe you could go for a hike. And I'm not saying you need to do this every day, but just commit. If you're really far from nature or you're really disconnected, just make a commitment that once a month you're going to do something to reconnect. You say, well, once a month, that's easy. Then make it once a week, but just do something to reconnect you to nature. Because unfortunately nowadays, with more and more of the populations living in urban environments, we are disconnected. So commit to reconnecting to nature. Second one, I want you to commit to starting something. And when I mean starting, I mean ideally start something with plants, maybe with fungi, maybe with animals. Start growing something, start raising something so that you practice stewarding, you practice caring for, you practice getting some feedback interaction with some part of nature that you're now stewarding, shepherding, taking care of. If it dies, that happens. Try to understand why. And that feedback loop, look, I didn't learn how to take care of a permaculture orchard because every single tree survived. No, I had thousands of trees die over the years. And what did I learn? I learned plant hardy trees. Don't plant trees that are right on the edge of being hardy. Don't do that. We can have a cold spell, and it only takes 1 or 2 nights in a winter in 30 years to wipe out a tree that could be 10, 20, or 30 years old. So I did learn that. If you've got animals, I like Joel Salatin's take on it. He said, the only thing about livestock is that there's going to be dead stock. And that's true. If you have animals, animals die. People die. Everything eventually dies. So learning to live with that, learning to understand why is important. So can you commit to me to doing those 2 things? You say, yeah. Okay, write them down right now. Pause the video and write down what it is you're going to commit to. And you say, well, yeah, I wrote it and I put it somewhere. Put it right on your phone, right as the background. Write it down as a note, take a picture, and put that note as your background so that you'll wake up and you'll go, oh yeah, reconnect to nature. Oh yeah, care for something alive. Is that going to make a change? I'll tell you, that will make a change. For some of you, it's just what you need for you to get going, to making your contribution. Because once you start down this road of reconnecting to nature and caring for it, go see the video. I'll show you how. That's all there is to it. Good things happen, especially for the planet. Let me just give you the example from my example from the Permaculture Orchard. I started in my early 30s. So some of you say, well, I'm not there yet. That's okay. Start wherever you are, whenever you are. I've heard of people starting in their 70s. Listen, you can start, and there's nothing better to keep you younger than to start planting some trees. My main goal and my vision and mission was not the one it is now. When I started, my main goal was just to get me out of the office. Have you ever had a goal like that? I mean, it wasn't really inspiring, but it was essential. I needed to reconnect to nature because nature had been such an important part of my childhood, growing up, and I had a business that got me in the office way too much. The orchard, the permaculture orchard, and that transformation got me out of the office on a very regular basis, and that was so much better because it reconnected me. Hey, I was impacted when I was a little kid. I was about 8 years old, and my river, it was my river, it was the river that ran behind our house. It had procured me hours and hours of reconnecting to nature. Hey, if you have water nearby, don't just look at the water, look in the water. There's a big difference. You could look at water for your whole life and not grasp what's going on in the water. I had looked at water in the water for a long time. And one day there was a huge fish kill. And this is the 60s. Well, the 60s pollution was, let's just say, it was rampant compared to today. And so we had a fish kill which devastated me. It was like the whole river seemed to be white. And I thought, wow, this is terrible. And I kind of turned in that thing, what can I do to avoid this, to help this, to save this? And I went on to become a biologist. And so what I'm going to get at for you is what is going to trigger you for your future. Let me just finish the story of the orchard. Today, after almost 30 years, my mission for the Permaculture Orchard is 1,000 hectares, 1,000 people in 50 countries. Not me having 1,000 hectares or 2,200 acres, but that there would be 2,200 acres by 1,000 people in 50 countries. Whichever one is reached first doesn't matter. It's really the goal will be for all three to be reached. And why that goal? Because once we reach that point, you won't be able to say, you know what, you have to grow fruit trees as a monoculture. No, because it's not a monoculture at all. It's a biodiverse commercial orchard, or it doesn't have to be commercial, but it's a biodiverse, it's a diversity in the orchard. That's my mission. That's the one I'm focused on right now. There is more in the future, and I won't talk about those today. But that's my mission. I know what I have to do, and I just try to get on with it. But you, what's your mission? What's your vision? And what's your future hold for? I would say, look at the list of speakers. Look at the topics. And ask yourself in this summit, which things really resonate with you? Which ones you say, oh, that sounds fascinating. That sounds interesting. That's something that I really would like to know about. So listen to them, learn from them, and take some notes and try to apply something that they're talking about. Because there's nothing better to learn something than to model what someone else is doing. And that gets you going in a way that avoids all the pitfalls of starting from scratch. So if somebody's talking about something, just try to do what they're doing as closely to what they're doing, and that's modeling what they're doing, and you will have success. Because it's important to have success when you start. Don't just have failures, although failure is part of learning, but learn from somebody who's learned. Don't repeat their failures, and you'll have a much better start. Start with their most proven idea. That's what you want to do. You want to see if they're talking about something, what are they talking about, and that's the one that's the most proven. Then go with that, model it, and get your start on some successes. Now, focus on you. Do you have some idea in mind of what you would like to do? Good. Spend some time imagining the future, what it would be like if what you are imagining is what you would be doing. Because really, what is the future? When we say, is the future hopeful? The future is what you say, there's factors outside of your control. Yes, but you can have a future. You can have a vision. You can have a goal for the future. Work towards it. And that way, it's not a matter of, well, I don't know what the future. You can have a good idea of what the future will be like because you're working towards accomplishing that future. It's important to live in the future. You say, no, it's important to be today. Yes, I agree. It's important. But the more you spend time in the future, and when I say spend time, I mean daydream. Think of the future. Place yourself in the future. I spend most of my time in the future. I come back to do what has to be done today, but I really spend an inordinate amount of time. And it's great because, hey, if you have a clear idea of what the future is, chances are that will be the future because you see it and you work towards it. So live in the future. Walk in the future. You say, walk in it? Yeah. Whatever you're imagining, imagine you're actually walking in that. You're doing what it is you're imagining that you would like to do. That way you can draw your energy, you draw your inspiration, you draw your energy, because there's energy in the idea, in the germ, in the seed. I always say, an idea is a seed. And just like a seed, everything is in that tiny seed to develop a beautiful plant or a great big tree. It starts with a seed. Sure, some seeds are bigger, but many times it's a very small seed, and that's in that seed, all that it needs is in there. And for you, an idea is the same way. You have an idea of the future, spend time on that idea, spend time imagining it, and that energy that is in that seed will start to come back to you. And that energy gives you the energy, gives you the impetus, gives you the get going to do what it is you're imagining, because you could get frustrated by seeing the future and not doing it. So when you feel that frustration, it's like, I got to get on with it. I got to get doing, because that's what I imagine, and it has to come to pass because, well, it's obvious that's the future. But you have something to do on that today. And that's where spend time in the future, imagine it, draw your energy from it, but spend time today accomplishing what it is you need to accomplish for that future to come about. You'll know if you're on the right track when you find that you spend time in the future and it's kind of a bummer to come back to today. That's when you know what? I'm really imagining what it's like, and it's kind of, I gotta come back to reality. Well, the more you spend time on the future, the more that is the reality. And now you get that energy, you get the impetus to get going. Let's get going. I want to do an exercise with you to get you seeing that as a compelling future. Now, I don't know if you've ever done an exercise like this to imagine something. You say, yeah, when I was a kid, I used to imagine things. Yes. And you know, our imagination is a powerful tool. And it is a tool. We need to use that tool to work for us. So some of you, it may have been a while since you've kind of imagined like a kid. Why? Because as a child, you really don't have limits, right? Everything seems possible. Now, how come reality comes and kind of crushes those dreams? My daughter told me, she says, Dad, you're the biggest little kid I know. And I take that as a compliment, because that childlike imagination and desire for, gee, I can imagine the future. I can see it, and, you know, we're going to change the future. Yes. So let's do this little exercise. Get comfortable. If you're driving, don't do it. Record it. Maybe you want to record it as an audio. Just clip just this exercise, and it will help you imagine the future. But get comfortable. Maybe you want to just sit back, close your eyes, and follow along. Maybe you want to lie down, if that's whatever you can get more comfortable. Maybe you want to get in an inspiring place that, you know, get somewhere out in nature and reconnect. That's fine. Now, first thing, close your eyes. Imagine doing something which really resonates with you. I talked a bit about that. What really gets you excited? What has in the past, maybe as a child, you used to have ideas, I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do that. And it got you excited. And it's important to get excited, because excitement brings that energy. It can be something triggered by a negative experience, as I explained with dead fish. That triggered me. It could be something positive. It could be something that isn't being done and you think, gee, that should be done. Maybe if it bothers you that should be done, it's because you should be the one doing it. Maybe from your childhood, and maybe from seeing someone doing something and you say, oh wow, I would love to do that. That's fine. There can be more than one person doing something. But when you're doing it, it will be different, because it will be you doing it. And every one of us are unique, with our unique set of skills and talents and gifts and experience. So it will be unique to you. What makes you smile when you imagine it? Can you imagine it? Can you see yourself doing that? Whatever it is that gives you some energy, does it also make you smile? If it makes you smile, you're on the right track, because that joy will give you an added boost of energy. Where would you imagine doing this activity? Is it in the urban or suburban or rural area? Is it near water? Is it on the water? What country are you in? Where would this be most needed? You say, oh, I can imagine there, it's such a need. Where would it help the most people? Where would it serve the most people? Now imagine when you would be doing this. Is it soon? Do you see this is coming up really soon? Or is it a few years from now? Do you see yourself doing this as you get older? Important questions. Now imagine showing someone what it is that you're doing, or what you have done. It helps you answer, why are you doing this? Because somebody could be asking you, why are you doing this? And it's clear to you why you are doing this. What's your motivator? What's the reason you got into this? What would it do for them as you're explaining to someone? What would it do for them? Does it matter? Does it matter to you? Does it matter to them? Now, imagine zooming out what you're doing and seeing it from 10,000 feet up. Wow. Could you still see what you do? Is it something that is visible from far away? Or is it visible only when you're right there watching and doing what it is you'd be doing? What if more people were doing what it is you're doing? Oh, would it be visible from far away? Could you see the effect in the air, in the land, on the land, in the water? Can you see the effect on the wildlife? Now you're in the future. Travel back slowly towards the present. Do you see the steps you had to take to make it happen? The people that you had to work with. The tough decisions you had to make. Did you have to move to be able to do what it is that you really feel you should be doing? Did you have to become different? Did you have to learn new skills along the way? Stop the video now and write down or record an audio or a video of what you saw, the details, where you were, when is this happening, what are your surroundings, what did you see when you imagined these things, what are the skills you needed, what are the places that you did this, who were the people. Do it now. Record these things. Document them. If you did this exercise, it can literally change your life. If you exercise and practice imagining the future vividly, clearly, tweaking it, each time you imagine it, just try. Do you hear something? Do you smell something? Do you see something? What color are you imagining, in color or in black and white? And you say, well, I got little bits. That's okay. That's normal that you don't have the full picture right away. That's why you spend time in the future. You have to invest in the future in order for the future to become reality. Because the clearer and the more time and the more you imagine it, the more you feel like you're just walking right into the future. And that's why I believe you are the greatest hope for the future. You are the ones who will make the future better. You listening to this summit, listening to presentations, learning, but then coming back, applying and doing what it is today you should do. And it could be something so simple. It could be get a house plant. It could be just sit down and look in some body of water. It could be go for a hike. Why? Because you're reconnecting to nature. You're doing something that gets you practicing with taking care of something alive, with the idea and with in mind the future that, you know what, I'm doing this today. I'm imagining the future, and I see how all this starts a ball rolling to make this earth the abundant garden that it can be. We really don't have to have lack on this planet. It's been shown. We know how to do it. We know how to restore every environment on earth. We know how to make them more abundant. The future can be extremely bright. It can be amazing. But each of us have a part to do. Each of us has some specific part of that mission, overall mission, to get going, to get doing, to learn, to apply, and to use it in the way you imagine the future to be. I'm saddened when I see young people who drift, who may have had a dream early on when they were a child, and the realities of life made that they chose a certain path that is away from their vision, that is away from the ideal thing they feel they should be doing. And they drift and they drift and they go for years, and some never go back to what was really their unique place on this planet. I mean, each of us have a calling. Each of us have something we have to do. And don't get your dreams quenched. If they have been, this is the year. Reconnect to nature. Start something. Start doing something. You don't have to quit everything that you're doing, but you can start something. Take time from other things and start doing something so that the future will be brighter. Use the future to guide your today. Figure out the steps that you would need to happen for that future to be realized. As you read, listen, and follow the different speakers, you will get, the clearer your future, the more you will listen and you will say, oh, I know where that goes. I know, like a puzzle piece, that will go here and that will go here along your path to what your mission is. So use this. Record the audio, listen to it again and again, and just let it run through your head. And you'll see it will trigger things. It will, I didn't think of that. That's true. Questions are important. You need to question so that it will bring up things that are, in many cases, they've been there from you when you were a little kid, and they haven't come back for a long time. Dare to dream big dreams.